Welcome to this lecture series on organizational behavior. We are in our third chapter on motivation, and this is our last section of this chapter. I'll quickly summarize what happened in the last few classes. We defined what is motivation. We looked at how motivation works. We also looked at what is meant by needs, motives, what are psychological motives, and also conflict as a motivating factor, and how money cannot be a sole motivator in workplace. And also we looked at many theories in work motivation. We looked at two kinds of theories, process theories and content theories. Content theories are theories which talk about what motivates people, in which we spoke about Maslow's theory of needs. We also spoke about Herzberg's two-factor theory and also ERG model of motivation. So these three models are content theories of motivation. We also looked at some process theories on motivation, a very interesting model called Room's expectancy theory, in which we spoke about three different factors or three different levels in the process of motivation. We also looked at equity theory of work motivation, which talks about rewards per se, how they motivate people and how people look at equity in rewards. So we looked at how when we get a reward, we compare it with ourselves, which is how much input did I put and how much output did I get. And also in the second level, we compare this input output with comparable others. Comparable others means others who are similar to us, who have also contributed more or less the same level as we contributed. So when this comparison is made, the first level of comparison, where we feel that what we have got is less than what we have contributed, we feel dissatisfied. Similarly, when we feel that we have gotten more than what we have contributed, we feel happy, but in the long run, it may create a sense of disconnection between our performance and the reward. We may think we are lucky, which means our performance may not necessarily have a say on the kind of reward we get. In the second level, where we compare our input output with others' input output, someone who's comparable to us, when we feel we have gotten less than what we have contributed, but somebody else have gotten more than what they have contributed, which is similar to our level of contribution, we feel highly dissatisfied. We also feel unjust. Okay, we feel that this is not fair because I also contributed to the same level, but that person has got more than what I have got. Okay, so it will lead to injustice. We also looked at when we get more than others, comparable others, we feel a disconnection between performance and reward. We feel maybe performance doesn't matter, maybe other factors matter, like being nice to the boss, or being lucky, or doing something which the management likes, things like that. Okay, so that also leads to, in long run, lead to dissatisfaction, because we feel whatever we contribute, it doesn't matter. It all depends on other factors. So this is what equity theory talks about. In fact, this is where we stopped. So this theory is very important in performance management systems in organizations, because it talks about fairness and justice. So fairness means this comparison, I've been treated fairly. Justice means everybody is treated at the same level. If somebody does wrong, they will be punished. If somebody does right, they will be rewarded. So this is what is justice. My behavior and the outcome, there is a connection. So there's a lot of research in organizational behavior which talks about justice in organization. In fact, there is a concept called organizational justice climate, which means employees in the organization feel the organization is fair and just, or the organization treats its employees in a fair manner and in a just way. Okay, there is justice in the organization. This is not just limited to smaller social units like organizations. In fact, in larger social units like country or nation, we seek justice, or we expect justice and fairness from the administration, which is the government. So, if the same kind of behavior is done, one person is punished, but another person is not punished. So we will we will feel unjust. We will feel there is injustice. We will lose our hope on the justice system. So if people lose hope on the justice system, what will happen? Okay, let's say traffic signals are not followed properly. Okay, so if somebody breaks the traffic rules, that person is let to go free, but I am like punished if I do the same thing, or even without doing anything I have been punished. Okay, so what will happen? People will lose hope on the larger system, and that will lead to chaos and confusion in the social system. Similarly, in organizations, when people feel the justice climate in the organization is not good, or there is no methods to ensure justice is reinforced, then employees will lose hope on the organization, and then they will not perform, they will not feel motivated to perform in the organization. In the worst case scenario, it will lead to negative behaviors also. They'll feel, see, anyway, if I perform also I don't get any reward, so I might as well not perform. And also, they will try to, when fairness is very less, they will try to retaliate with negative behavior. They may steal from the organization, they will break things in the organization. So those things can also happen. Okay, so that is why organizational justice climate should be positive. So when you say organizational justice climate or perception of organizational justice in the workplace, what is important? So organizational justice has 3 different types of justice, which means justice is not just one. Whether I feel my organization is just or not depends on many kinds of justice. Okay, so what are the different kinds of justice? The first and the simple most form of justice is distributive justice, which is similar to equity, which means I have contributed this much and this is what I've got as a reward, or this is what I get as my compensation for my performance. So this is distributive justice. So when people feel the same equity theory, when people feel I have contributed this much but I have received very less, people will feel distributive justice to be low. Okay, and that will lead to low level of performance. It will lead to dissatisfaction and all those stuff. Procedural justice is similar to the instrumentality perception which we saw in Vroom's theory. So procedural justice means employees feel that procedures are clearly laid down. Okay, and the procedures are same to everyone. It is not like some people can take shortcut. Okay, so if a particular rule is reinforced, that rule is clear to everyone, and that rule is same or which is followed irrespective of who you are. So that is procedural justice. So rules should be clearly defined and rules should be reinforced similarly to everyone. Okay, so for example, let's say rules are not clearly written. People don't know what is the rule. That also lead to lack of justice perception. Rules are clearly written, but there is bias. Some people are punished, some people are rewarded, some people are not punished, some people are not rewarded for the same behavior. So it will lead to low or less procedural justice perception in workplace. The third justice perception is interactional justice. So employees will look for interactional justice, which means everybody should be treated similarly. When I say treated in terms of respect, sharing information, all those stuff. So which means some people are treated preferably. Some people are treated as if they are like, gods, but some people are treated as slaves in the same organization. Okay. Some people are given more information. Some people are not given any information. The people of same level and same role, let's say managers. Some managers are given more information, some managers are not given enough information. Some managers are treated with a lot of respect, some managers are treated like, they are not worth of any respect. So that is interactional justice. So if this disparity is there, employees will feel there is less interactional justice. So like I said earlier, for an organization to be felt as or to be perceived as a very good organization in terms of justice climate, all these three justice elements should be high. Okay. So this is a very important motivating factor. In fact, if there is no justice, it will lead to dissatisfaction and employee attrition. Employees will quit the organization. So this is another theory which talks specifically about how job can be a motivating factor, or how to design a job so that people are motivated by the job. So if you have to connect it with the earlier content theory, the Herzberg's theory talks about this. In Herzberg's theory, the motivators, which is job related factors, are these factors. So understanding these factors, or understanding how we can make a job, enriching job for employees, will make people motivated to perform better. Okay. When we say job, a job should be an enriching job. A job should make a person happy or meaningful. What does it mean? Okay. So a job, enriching job should have 5 qualities. Okay. The first quality is skill variety. If a job makes a person use many skills, okay, so the job requires many skills to be performed, or if you want to perform well in that job, you should have many skills. So that is skill variety. For example, jobs like teaching job, or jobs like doctors, they need many skills, not just technical skills. They need interpersonal skills, they need management skills, they need social skills, they need some amount of knowledge about different fields, not just their own field. So this is skill variety. Similarly, task identity. Task identity means if I perform a job, I should be able to clearly say this is what I have contributed, or this part of the job is done by me. Especially in organizations when jobs overlap, I should be clearly say this part is what is my contribution. Okay, I should be able to identify and say this is what I have done in the range of many jobs others have done. In teamwork, you should be able to clearly identify this is my contribution. That is task identity. Task significance is the task is a significant job. When I say significant task, which means which contributes to many things, or people respect that particular task. Okay, so the task should be able to have a high impact on many people. Okay, so skill variety is that particular job should help me contribute or use many of my skills. Okay, so what will happen if the job is not using all my skills? Okay, it uses only fewer skills. I will get bored. Okay, so for example, I am a teacher. I've undergone a lot of training as a doctor in terms of many skill set, but I am using only fewer skill set. My job demands only fewer skill sets. I will feel bored after a certain point in time. Okay, so skill variety, when skill variety is less, or when the job demands only fewer skill sets from the employees will get bored after a certain point in time. Task identity, I've contributed a lot in my job, but I'm not able to pinpoint and say this is what I have contributed. I will feel less recognized. Okay. Task significance. The impact of my job on people is less, or the impact of what I have done as my task is not considered to be important in my organization. Okay. I will feel insignificant. I will feel I'm not important. So if all these three things are there, skill variety, task identity, and task significance, I will feel my job is more meaningful. Okay, I'll feel what I'm doing is something which is impactful or purposeful. It has a purpose. It has an impact. So if that sense of meaningfulness is there, I will feel highly motivated. If my job is more impactful, I will be happy to contribute more. I will have high motivation. So these three things lead to meaningfulness, which will lead to internal motivation. Second, so when I say internal motivation, it means even if there is no reward, I'll be happy to work. Okay, that is internal motivation. Second category is autonomy. Autonomy means I have freedom to decide how I can do my job, or in what ways I can complete that task. Autonomy in terms of how I do it, how in what ways I do it, in which time frame I do it. If I have enough freedom, autonomy is freedom. If I have enough freedom, I feel responsible to the outcomes. I will feel more responsible for fulfilling that task. So if that sense of responsibility is there, my quality of work performance will increase. Okay. So in other words, if you give freedom for employees, they will feel more responsible to give the results. Okay. The third category is feedback from the job. So my job should also have mechanisms to say how well I have performed in the job. Okay. So I have contributed so much, but I don't know whether I have performed well or not, whether what I have done is correct or not. It may lead to demotivation. So if my job itself has some feedback mechanism where I get routine feedback, I get feedback at every given point in time about my performance, how to improve my performance, I will feel that my performance has contributed to better fulfillment of the job, which will lead to high satisfaction with the work. Okay. So if all these 5 qualities are there, it will lead to sense of purpose, which is meaningfulness in the job, which will lead to high internal motivation. Autonomy will lead to more responsibility or sense of responsibility. I'll feel I'm responsible for what I'm doing, so quality of work performance will increase. If I get constant feedback, I will feel what is where I can correct, and I will know how my performance has led to results, and I will feel more satisfied with the work. So if all these 5 things are there, employees will feel very, very motivated, highly motivated to perform a job. But again, it's not true for all employees. It's true for employees who have high growth needs, which means employees who are who wants to grow in their career. For those kind of employees, they expect their jobs to have all these 5 qualities. So if the jobs have all these 5 qualities, they will feel more meaningful in what they are doing. They will also feel sense of responsibility. They will also feel their work is contributing to the job, which will lead to internal motivation, quality of work, and high satisfaction. Okay. So this theory is very important in designing jobs. How to design a job which provides skill variety, how in certain ways we can identify people's contribution to that particular task, and also how to increase a sense of task significance, how to design job which gives more freedom to employees, how we can have mechanisms where we can have routine feedback mechanisms for employees. So all these things can be understood and designed in a way that employees feel that their jobs are highly enriched, which will lead to high level of motivation, satisfaction, and quality of work. Okay. So these are the theories which I wanted to discuss in this particular chapter, which talks about both content and process involved in motivating employees. Okay, just to quickly summarize the entire chapter in terms of what these theories spoke about. First, we should reward or we should create reward systems which are tailor-made, which means it's not like one particular reward system or one particular reward will motivate all the employees. So we should create reward systems which will motivate people depending on which stage are they in, which age are they in, which level are they in, what kind of jobs they are doing. So many factors decide what will motivate employee. So we should consider all those things and tailor make reward systems. Two, for most people, job itself can be a motivating factor. So Herzberg's theory talks about motivating factors. So you can give better salary, you can give better working conditions, but ultimately the job is what matters. So we should be very clear about how to design jobs, the role of job enrichment. And also, most importantly, when you design reward systems, you should make employees feel there is high level of equity and fairness. So when employees feel the reward systems are not fair or there is no equity, so whatever reward you give, people will feel dissatisfied and they will not see the connection between their performance and reward. So I'll stop here. So this is the end of this chapter on motivation. The next chapter in fact we are moving towards the next stage of our organizational behavior. So till now whatever we saw is individual related dynamics. So as an individual, what are the factors which involve personality, attitude, emotions, motivation and things like that. The next stage of our OB course is going to be about interpersonal, between people. It will be about communication, group decision making, team dynamics and things like that. So I'll stop here. We'll meet in the next class on a chapter on interpersonal dynamics. Till then, take care. See you in the next lecture.